Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of the Solo Sideline, and I'm your host, Conor. This is the #1 podcast that talks Broncos, Seahawks, and the NBA. I say this because I'm probably the only one that covers these 3 specific areas. Please engage with me on Instagram or Twitter. My name is The Solo Sideline. I will comment and have conversations about points I'm passionate about with you guys. I want this podcast to be all sports and no fluff. And here's some fluff items that didn't make the cut today. Skip Bayless went back on First Take with Stephen A. Smith. I personally think that's a ratings boost for Stephen A. Smith and First Take, and probably to help Skip out since he was kicked off FS1 and Undisputed a couple years ago now. And now he just talks to a bunch of retired NFL players and tweets to farm engagement on Twitter. The NFL is releasing their schedule on Thursday. Next week, we're going to break down record predictions based on the schedule release. We know who they're playing, we just don't know when and where, and that definitely impacts wins and losses. The NCAA has expanded the bracket to 76 teams for 2026 for March Madness. This is adding 8 new teams to the tournament. Some may see this as a money grab, but apparently the men's tournament deal runs through 2032 and is worth a shocking $8.8 million. A few more games to determine who actually makes the round of 64 isn't going to impact that much. So it's probably not really a money grab. I think it's more to allow teams that are actually good that just didn't make the cut to actually make the cut and may pull off an underdog story. We've seen a fair share of those in March Madness. And Aaron Rodgers was apparently visiting the Steelers this past weekend. I mean, we all know he only has 2 options, retire or return to the Steelers and run it back. And now that his old pal Mike McCarthy's there, I think he's going to run it back. I don't think he wants to hang up the cleats and call it a day. And the rumors about him going to Denver in case Bo Nix couldn't come back or go to the Cardinals to help fill in for the year, those were just dumb rumors and stories for clickbait during the time when the NFL season was slow. That just doesn't make sense. But we saw it last year where he came into he went to Pittsburgh. They had an all right season. They definitely benefited from AFC upheaval with Joe Burrow missing time, Lamar Jackson missing time. They made the playoffs. And then the Texans made him look like what he is, a 41, 42-year-old man who probably should hang it up, but he doesn't have the ego to do that. So I think this year's going to be about the same. Probably a 9-8 team, 8-9, whatever. Maybe squeak into the playoffs and probably a first round out again. Not much new. And this week we're going to touch on the Mike Vrabel and Diana Russini topic. I think it's safe to assume we know an affair happened. They were seen together in 2020 at a bar holding hands and kissing, and now the slow trickle of more information, basically daily or weekly, is just rough. Both parties, I'm sure, want it to blow over in the media and just carry on with their lives. I mean, Diana had to step down from The Athletic, and then Mike Vrabel had to miss day 3 of the NFL draft to go to counseling with his wife. From a football standpoint, I'm not sure if Russini was helping Vrabel at all. There were points that she was, or suspicions that she was, especially with trade prices and whatnot. There was a trade piece about Julio Jones netting a first, and then the Titans swooped in and got him for a second. I mean, who knows? It just seemed messy all around, but really messy more on their personal life than their professional life. And either way, it should really be secondary to their families. And without further ado, here we go with episode 4 of the Solo Sideline with Conor. This week, we're going to do a little thought exercise. We're going to talk about the NFL schedule, predict best and worst matchups for week 1. So we still don't know who Seattle opens up against, but we know who they can't. So without further ado, here we go. They cannot play the Rams or the Niners on Wednesday because the Rams and Niners are playing Thursday in Australia. That's why the Seahawks are on Wednesday. And the NFL is not going to make us sit through a beatdown of the Cardinals, so the Cardinals are ruled out. The Giants are hosting the Cowboys for Sunday Night Football Week 1, so that takes out Dallas and New York, which then just leaves the Chargers, Bears, and Patriots. Now, it would leave the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are actually hosting Denver Week 1, that Monday night game. So it leaves 3 teams that really have a shot of being the team that Seattle hosts, the Chargers, Bears, and Patriots. The Chargers could be interesting. The Mike McDaniel hiring to lead their offense could be a huge storyline against the dark side of the Seahawks and make it an entertaining game. The Chargers O-line would be healthy and a good test for the Seahawks D-line. The Seahawks lost some talent on the D-line and then signed Dante Fowler earlier this week, or I think earlier this week officially. And then the Chargers offense can score in bunches with McDaniels calling it. I mean, he had people thinking Tua was a great quarterback, and then the Dolphins paid him like he was a great quarterback, and now the coach and the quarterback are on different teams. So, I mean, that might tell you something. And the Chargers defense was quietly one of the better units last year, and I think the Chargers would be a tough opening opponent. I think they would probably be the toughest opening opponent for Seattle. So if you're hoping for a Seattle win, the Chargers may not be the game you want. I think the game for best viewership would actually be the Bears, and I really do think Caleb is overrated, but he does make the impossible look possible with some of his plays. I mean, we all probably remember the NFC playoff game against the Bears and the Rams. It was 4th down and 15 or something like that. He scrambles to near like the midfield, slings the ball to the end zone. It gets caught, touchdown, goes into overtime. Like, that's a Madden play. That shouldn't be realistic and even be allowed to happen in the actual NFL. But Caleb somehow did it. And then the storyline to lesser extent of a returning player, but Kobe Bryant left Seattle for Chicago. So you still have that returning player storyline. And I'm sure Kobe Bryant would be asked, hey, you played with Seattle. Do you know their tendencies? Have you told all your Bears teammates that? And he was like, yeah, man, I've been singing. That always is a storyline when a returning player comes back. The Bears did revamp their defense. Addition to Kobe Bryant would be evidence of that. And then they could present Seattle some issues. The Patriots would be a Super Bowl rematch. Unfortunately, the Super Bowl was over in the first quarter as Drake May was under pressure from the start, and the Pats defense couldn't contain Seattle. But we sort of touched on it a little earlier. With the whole offseason of drama surrounding their coach having an affair, would the NFL want to bring that back under the microscope and into the spotlight? You would have to have whoever's calling that game, probably a Joe Buck or someone, dance around the elephant in the room all game saying, man, this is great for the Patriots to finally just be able to play football about that scandal that happened and not really mention the scandal. And who knows, Vrabel might not even be the coach at that point, but I doubt it. I mean, we all know the Robert Kraft massage parlor sting, and he's still the owner of the Patriots. Sure, he got fined, slap on the wrist for an NFL owner, but if anyone is fine with the affair happening, it would be Robert Kraft and the Patriots. So I really think the Bears would be the most entertaining game. What I've seen on Twitter from leaks or just speculation would be that it's actually a Super Bowl rematch. You may not know this, but I'm not really a betting man. But if I were to bet on this, the home opener, I would probably bet on it being the Super Bowl rematch. And I don't know how the NFL is really going to advertise that because the Super Bowl was a snooze fest. So we'll see. Now, Denver's Week 1 opener was actually announced this morning. It was a weird announcement. It was Denver and the Chiefs are going to play Monday Night Football September 14th, but we just don't know where. We don't know if it's at Denver. We don't know if it's in Kansas City. Seems weird to announce a game that's like trying to get fan engagement and all that, but not actually say the location. They announced a Thanksgiving game yesterday, Monday, and they knew exactly where it was being played. I don't know why they announced it that way. Later on in the day, it came out that the Chiefs are going to be hosting Denver. So it was just weird how they announced it. Now, this is really telling with this week 1 matchup against Denver and KC. First off, I think the NFL has to feel really good about Mahomes being healthy and playing week 1, or else why would you put the Chiefs in a primetime game? And Knicks, to a lesser extent, will be healthy for week 1. He had the cleanup surgery. Denver media were all up in a frenzy of like, what's going on? Is he even going to be healthy? Is he going to be playing? Do we need a backup? Whatever. Sean Payton came out this weekend, said Bo Nix is going to be healthy, probably start seeing him participate in OTAs and in the early phases of all that, and probably the team will have to hold him back. So that was a non-story story, basically. But for those that don't know, Mahomes tore his ACL and LCL on December 14th during a loss to the Chargers. And then I think the next day he got surgery and he started rehab right away. Mahomes has a history of coming back from injuries really quick. Against Denver a few years ago, he dislocated his kneecap on a quarterback sneak. I think he missed 3 games, came back. Since then, I don't think the Chiefs or Mahomes has done a quarterback sneak. Then you have, of course, the really bad ankle injury that he suffered. Who was it against? Was it against the Jaguars? I don't know. He suffered in the playoffs. Then he wanted to face the Bengals in the AFC Championship game the next week or something like that. And everyone thought he was going to miss the game because they saw the injury happen. They saw him limping on the sideline. He was out there the very next week. Went out there, played ball. So I don't know if Mahomes is really built differently or if he's him, but he does have a history of coming back from injuries pretty quickly and not really feeling the impact. Now, if Mahomes can't play week 1, the Chiefs are going to start Justin Fields at quarterback and probably lean into a quick passing attack with option plays since they signed Kenneth Walker. And some of you may know Ken Walker from being the Super Bowl MVP for Seattle. So if Mahomes doesn't play, definitely will be Ken Walker, Justin Fields, option plays, running the ball, quick passes. If Mahomes can play, he would probably be rusty. I can definitely see him not being able to roll out of the pocket, extend plays with his legs, probably take off running. There were games last year where he led his team in rushing yards. And as a quarterback, you're not supposed to do that. You're typically supposed to have a running back lead your team in rushing yards. So they added Ken Walker. It would be a huge addition, but I don't think it's that big of a deal early on. I think later on in the season when Holmes is back to being himself, if that's even possible this year, it would be definitely more helpful. Now, the Chiefs also lost both starting corners. Trent McDuffie and Watson, I believe, both went to the Rams. McDuffie was traded to the Rams, and then Watson signed as a free agent. And then the Chiefs traded up to 6 overall to draft Mansour Delane. And he will start his career lining up against Cortland Sutton and Jalen Waddle. I'm a Bronco fan, guys. So I think Delane's going to be taken to school and have his welcome to the NFL moment that week. I don't think he will shut down a side of the field, as they would say. Now, on the Denver side of this matchup, we now know Bo Nix will be healthy, going into training camp, all that. He'll be ready to play week 1. Denver traded for Jalen Waddle in the offseason and then re-signed everyone back on the offense. So in short, they got better since they didn't really lose anyone and add an explosive receiver who can take the short slant route 70 yards for a touchdown. That was severely lacking in the Denver offense. They didn't have anyone who could break a long touchdown. Cortland Sutton's your go-to chain mover. Troy Franklin is sort of the explosive guy, but he definitely has issues with consistency of catching the ball, coming down with the ball. Marvin Mims he's shown flashes, but I don't know why the team doesn't really trust him as much. He's just your all-pro returner, so he can get you good field position. He's sparingly used on offense. And Evan Ingram was supposed to be the Joker, but didn't really get utilized last year. Now, that brings us to this Davis Webb point. Davis Webb is now the new offensive coordinator for Denver. He's taken over the play calling duties from Sean Payton. And that could be a little clunky to start the season. Typically, when you change head coaches or change play callers, especially on offense, defense, you can sort of get away with it. But on offense, you have some slow starts. People are understanding the playbook, getting the terminology down, all that. So I think the play calling could be a clunky start, or you're bringing in Jalen Waddle. Bo Nix doesn't have the full off season, but he has most of it to get on the same page with these guys. Benefit of Davis Webb, though, he's been the quarterback coach with Denver since they drafted Bo Nix, so he is super familiar with Nix. Bo's familiar with him. They're probably on the same page already, and he already called a preseason game last year, and it went well. Now it's preseason, so who knows? But I really think this is a win for Denver. I want Mahomes to start. I want the best versus the best, and this would be a statement win for Denver since they won the division last year. Everyone thinks they're still the little bros, but they're not. They came out there, they beat the fully healthy KC team last year. Mahomes was there before he got injured. Rashee Rice came back from his suspension. Travis Kelce was there. I think even PS2 on the Broncos, the reigning defensive player of the year at that point, wasn't there, wasn't healthy, wasn't playing. And Denver won the game. I think Denver can definitely go in there at Arrowhead in September and win the game. And I'd rather go in Arrowhead in September than a cold, chilly December night. And with a rusty Mahomes. Now we're going to touch on the NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs are wrapping up round 2, and we have 2 teams that are already waiting for their matchup in the conference finals. The New York Knicks went into Philadelphia, absolutely embarrassed the 76ers by sweeping them 4-0. And I did say previously, a team that having to spend so much energy coming back from a 3-1 deficit, it comes back and bites you later on the deeper you go into the playoffs. And that just happened for them in round 2. Now, Joel Embiid did miss a couple of the games, but that's to be expected with him, unfortunately. He's not able to be your starter night in, night out, and it just happens. Now, we'll go back to Dave Portnoy. He, of course, did a victory lap once Philly was eliminated. I think he's really just talking to hear himself talk. He says no team should be in this round. Like the Philadelphia 76ers, he was saying didn't even belong in the playoffs, which is really rich coming from him since his team, the Celtics, blew a 3-1 lead. He's a walking contradiction. And then this brings us to the second part. The Thunder swept the Lakers, and Dave Portnoy's just talking trash about LeBron and the Lakers, saying LeBron's a fraud, all that stuff. And I really think his feelings are just hurt because LeBron's owned the Celtics since he was a part of the Cavs and the Heat. I mean, he made the Celtics have to go out and trade for Kevin Garnett and trade for Paul Pierce and form the first official NBA super team just to beat a young LeBron. Then LeBron went to Miami and the Heat destroyed that Celtics quote-unquote dynasty and their big three, big four, whatever you want to call it. That's when we have LeBron James just dunking on the Celtics, taking life from them, coming back, destroying them. And then even in 2018, with his second stint with the Cavs, LeBron forced a Game 7 carrying Chetty Osman, J.R. Smith, and old Kevin Love, and a bunch of just nobodies who some of them aren't even in the NBA anymore. Rodney Hood, George Hill, Jordan Clarkson, who hasn't come into his prime at that point, Larry Nance Jr., up against Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, Al Horford, one of the Markieff bros. I forget if it's Marcus or Markieff. And LeBron played all 48 minutes, didn't seem phased, and beat the Celtics. So I think Dave's just a little hurt by LeBron and definitely hurt still by the 76ers. So he's just crying, and he has a platform to say that stuff, and people listen to him. He's just engagement farming too. But the Thunder did sweep the Lakers, and as I said, whoever won Game 2, I was going to pick to win the series. Unfortunately, the Thunder won Game 2, hence the sweep. And OKC is just a better team, even without Shea on the floor. They can just throw players out there who are all gas, no breaks, create turnovers, score easy transition buckets. I mean, the Thunder, the NBA was a league that focused on superstars. If you had the most superstars on your team, typically 3, you were in the finals, guaranteed maybe winning it. The Thunder and to an extent the Spurs have shown you might just need one superstar and then a bunch of depth. Just guys who are good defenders, can make open baskets, make the right plays, and they played 9-10 deep. And they're just creating turnovers because all the other teams are maybe going 7-8 man rosters, so you're getting gassed, you're getting tired, especially now in the second round and going forward. The games are every other day, so LeBron, who's 41, you don't have that same ability to bounce back after a game with a short recovery time. And LeBron just couldn't carry the current Lakers against the best team in the league, but we were able to see vintage LeBron playoff series last round against Houston, and I can say I enjoyed that. Now, the Cavs were able to win Game 3 against the Pistons to make it a 2-1 series. Pistons lead that. Then Donovan Mitchell came to play in Game 4, and the Cavs have tied the series up at 2 apiece. Now, going into this round, I picked the Cavs to win this series, and that take is also in jeopardy. I didn't think Harden would be as bad as he has been, but hopefully the Game 3 heroics that he had propelled him to be more confident and better. And if Game 4 is any indication, he could be good for the rest of the series, hopefully. The issue with James Harden isn't that he's bad in the playoffs. It's that he's bad when his team needs him to be good. So like elimination games, when his team's facing elimination and he needs to be a star or do a vintage James Harden game to stave off elimination and play one more game. He's typically bad those games. But in a game 1 where it's sort of meaningless, not like meaningless, but like it doesn't matter who really wins game 1, he can explode for 40 points. And it's like, okay, let's do that in an elimination game. And he just can't. It's a weird. It has to be psychological for him. Mental block. Now, if Cleveland loses this series, I could see LeBron going home and playing for the Cavs next year. He's a free agent. The Lakers didn't extend him last summer, so he's a true free agent. He can retire. He can return to the Lakers. He can go pick his own team. And you should know this by now. I like storybook endings. I like the story of sports a bit more than the actual sport in a way. And LeBron going back to Cleveland, where he was drafted, where he won Cleveland's first championship, that would be fun for him to go back home, maybe get Cleveland over the hump, and win his 5th ring, win Cleveland's 2nd title. That would be crazy. And I don't know if it's doable salary cap wise, especially if Cleveland decides to keep James Harden. It has to be possible, but who knows? I'm not a salary cap expert. Now, the Spurs and the Wolves are tied at 2, and they're playing right now at this time of this recording. I'll admit, guys, I'm recording this on a Tuesday night at 6:30 Pacific time. Last I checked, the Spurs were leading by about 14 points, so I'm going to just say it's safe to assume the Spurs are going to take this game. So right now, the series is tied 2-2. But we're going to assume Spurs take this game, and so they'll be leading 3-2. But first, the Wolves shocked everyone by stealing game 1. Then the Spurs came out and dominated and took game 2. The Spurs came back out, took game 3. And then game 4 is where it got a little tense. Wemby deals with a lot of physicality since he's their center, he's their best player. He gets rebounds, fights players for it, whatever. And the NBA playoffs is known for being more physical than the regular season. The refs swallow their whistle a bit more and let the players play, which is great. Now, during Game 4, Wemby grabbed a rebound and was getting some Timberwolves players hands off of him, hands off the ball, whatever. But he had had enough. He felt like it was getting a little too physical. The Wolves players were roughing him up, and the refs weren't calling it. So you see him cock his elbow back. He knows what's going to happen. He sees a Wolves player next to him, and then he swings his elbow at the Timberwolves player, Naz Reid, hits Naz Reid right in the neck. So it was like a jugular shot almost. Now, the refs called it a flagrant. They did a timeout. They reviewed it. They deemed it a flagrant 2, which is an automatic ejection from the game. And a lot of media members were shocked that Wemby was actually ejected. Part of that shock was due to him being a star player, face of the franchise, possibly face of the league in future years, and it being the playoffs, such a high leverage moment. You typically don't see star players get ejected, but you also don't really see star players elbow someone straight in the neck. But we've seen in these playoffs a Lakers player, DeAndre Ayton, get ejected for far less. So it was the right call. He was ejected for being violent, possibly hurting a player. Luckily, Naz Reid was fine, all that. Now, Wemby has avoided being suspended for Game 5, so that's why probably the Spurs are up. And I think he avoided suspension because he basically missed the rest of the second quarter. It was early on in the second quarter, and then he missed the whole second half of the game. So it's almost like he served a suspension, is how the NBA probably looks at it. But you just can't do that. And a player of lesser stardom would have been suspended, and I think now he knows that he can't lose his cool again, and the Wolves might take advantage of that, try and rough him up, get in his head. They already know that he's thinking about it mentally. The Wolves already know that they've gotten to him, so they can keep doing that and see what happens. See if he loses his cool again, gets teed up, then he would get suspended, because in the playoffs you can only have 4 technicals or 4 flagrants, and then you are automatically suspended for a game. But even with Wemby missing that second half, the Wolves had to come back in the fourth quarter to win the game and then even the series. So the Wolves are still at a disadvantage, even if Wemby misses a game or whatever. Now, he's probably not going to miss a game in this series. And the winner of this series, either the Spurs or the Wolves, get rewarded by playing a now rested Thunder team that hasn't lost a game in the playoffs through 2 rounds. So even if you advance to the conference finals, you're gonna face the best team in the NBA, the OKC, Oklahoma City Thunder, who have swept both opponents. They've dealt with some adversity. Game 4, admittedly, the Lakers put up some fight, had the lead late, but then Thunder just pulled away and won the game. And then this brings us to the end of the episode of the Solo Sideline. I hope you enjoyed your time listening to me talk sports, share my opinions and thoughts with you all, and don't forget to click subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast services. Find me on Twitter and Instagram at the Solo Sideline, and I hope you tune in next week for the next episode to hear me talk about my record predictions for the NFL, update and predictions for the NBA playoffs, and I'm going to go into LeBron's Laker legacy.